All right, everybody. Good morning. We have made it to another Friday, and the Seahawks had another OTA session yesterday that was open to the media. So, after these sessions, we typically get some information. We don't get everything, of course, and most of the stuff wouldn't necessarily mean anything to us. But after these open OTA sessions, we've got at least some stuff to think about, some stuff to talk about. So, I'm going to go ahead and pass along some of the main storylines that came from yesterday's OTA. There's some bad news and there's also some good news. So let's go ahead and get started with some of the bad stuff. Mostly injury stuff. The bad stuff that we're dealing with right now is mostly just injuries. It's too early for like if somebody looked particularly bad in the OTAs when they're not even hitting each other, when they're not even allowed to. I think defensive backs aren't allowed to contest balls or something like that. You don't really see stuff like that all that often. But we do have some injury things. Um, we obviously got the good Abe Lucas news in the last week, but there is some stuff going on that I definitely don't love. So Brady Henderson, he's got most of the info that I have in this video. He's got the report here. Jerome Baker not practicing, likely not going to practice until training camp because of the wrist surgery he is coming off of. He's also got some lower body issues, so you add it all up, and that's a significant collection of injuries that he is currently working through, and this is not ideal, right? Jerome Baker, already a player that has had a little bit of red in his ledger when it comes to injury stuff. I mean, he's coming off wrist surgery this most recent season, and now we're hearing about this, and now we're not going to see him in OTAs. We already know that. He, again, they think he'll be back in training camp, but this guy just got here, man. This guy just got here. This guy is going to be new to this team, is going to be new to Mike McDonald. And this time that he's missing matters, I think, especially because we're going to be leaning very heavily on him this year because he's one of the off-ball linebackers that we brought in to start. And by the way, that other inside linebacker we brought in, Tyrell Dodson, he's he's not participating yet either. Now, in his case, I think that it's just because it's a voluntary OTA and he's chosen not to be here. But look at what that leaves us with the defense right now. So Mike McDonald is trying to install this new defense that is going to be new to most of these players, if not, well, I mean, basically all of them. And he's working with not even the backup linebackers. You've got John Radigan and Patrick O'Connell. Maybe Radigan is like the fourth inside linebacker on this team, but you've got Tyrell Dodson, you've got Jerome Baker, and probably, although it depends on how the offseason goes, Tyrese Knight ahead of those guys. But none of those guys are with the number one defense right now for one reason or another. In the case of Knight, it's probably because he's a rookie and they're taking it easy with him. So Radigan and O'Connell are out there working with the number one defense when McDonald's trying to install new stuff. That's not great. That's not ideal. It's definitely starting to become a little bit of a concern. I thought that Baker would be back by now, but we've still got a lot of training camp left. I guess that's the good news, right? Like this OTA stuff is just kind of to get a running start, and we've got some players that are not going to get that running start, so I'm not very happy about it. But that would be part of the bad news. I'm aware of how difficult it's going to be to implement this new defense, and quite honestly, having players out like this at a key position, by the way, where they have to go out there and perform, is definitely troublesome. Okay, so that's the main injury stuff. Jerome Baker, that's the big story here, I think. Not thrilled about this either, to be perfectly honest. I definitely would not call this good news either. AJ Barner still not practicing. Anthony Bradford still not practicing. Now, those guys got hurt a while ago, and it was like AJ Barner missed rookie minicamp, and he said, "Oh, I'll be back out there any day now. This isn't going to take very long." That was a while ago. Now AJ Barner is still not out there. And Anthony Bradford, same thing. They were like, oh, that's a minor injury. He'll be fine. Now it's OTAs. If there was ever a time to take it easy with your injured guys, it's now. But I don't like that. I mean, both these guys, they need their reps. Maybe not Barner, because Barner probably is a third string tight end this year. Anthony Bradford, though, he's going to be in a battle to start. And I think that he probably will start. So him missing this time is not good. We have a new offensive line coach, and Bradford is not building reps with him right now. So this stuff, not so great. Fortunately, it seems like everything's going to be okay by training camp. We're not dealing with like what the Broncos are dealing with, where Drew Sanders goes down before OTAs even started, technically, I think. And they're just like, yeah, season's over. We don't have anything like that, but I could do without this. All right, so that's the bad stuff. That's the bad news. We do have some cool stuff, though. We do have some interesting stuff, just some kind of observational stuff. Devin Witherspoon worked outside more today than in the previous open OTA session, where he was primarily inside. So I'm really interested to see how the Seahawks do this, where they want to play Witherspoon. Do they want to put him on the outside? Do they want to play him in the slot? And if they put him inside, who plays outside? If they put him outside, who plays inside? They've got kind of an embarrassment of riches here at cornerback with all the different things they've got going on. By the way, not on topic, but Mike McDonald finally mentioned Reek Woolen a couple days ago and spoke pretty positively about him. So finally, we heard him say the name of Reek Woolen, which is great because this is a big year for him. And what he does is going to be very, very informative on not only is he going to be here going forward, but is he going to have a future in the NFL going forward? Because there were some things with Woolen's game last year that were exposed in such a way that even though he had excellent coverage numbers last year, like you go look at PFF, you look at PFR, coverage numbers are beautiful, but there's still just a complete lack of respect for this guy because he is such a bad tackler and so bad in run defense that people think it actually negates what he does well. So that's good, but very interested to see how Witherspoon gets used. Are they going to move him around like a Kyle Hamilton type? Are they going to restrict him to the outside? Are they going to play him inside when we go nickel and then outside when we go base? Definitely want to see what's going on here. More from Brady Henderson on the offensive line. Same as last week. So Cross, left tackle, Tomlinson, left guard, Oluwatimi, center, McClendon Curtis, right guard because Bradford is still not healthy, and George Fant at right tackle because Abe Lucas still isn't healthy. Again, still the same information about Abe Lucas. Maybe he'll be back for training camp. Christian Haynes still has not elevated himself to the starting offensive line. It would be very, very surprising if he didn't before the season started, but hasn't happened yet. I would assume that they would allow that process to happen in training camp, not OTAs, so I'm not going to worry about it yet, but Christian Haynes should be able to kind of hit the ground running here because he played so much in college. He built a level of experience that you usually don't see from pretty much any player out of college, much less a guy who gets to play the same position every snap of his career, like Haynes did playing right guard his whole career. So nothing new here, but I want to close here on probably the most exciting thing that happened yesterday at the OTAs. JSN had a monster performance, caught 7 touchdowns across the 2 periods where they are playing football. There's 11 on 11, and then there's 7 on 7. So JSN, between those 2 periods, caught 7 touchdowns. Now, Brady Henderson does specify that defensive backs aren't supposed to contest throws right now, but he doesn't think it would have mattered. So no DK Metcalf because, again, OTAs are voluntary and DK's not attending, which is not terribly surprising to me. I will say we're bringing in new stuff, so I do think that it's good for the guys to be here. We're bringing in a brand new offense, brand new defense, brand new coaching staff just in general, except for Carl Scott. So I would have liked to have seen guys like Metcalf here, but I also am aware that it doesn't really matter that much. So JSN takes advantage of the opportunity, and he certainly needs these reps more than Metcalf. Like, JSN needs OTA reps more than Metcalf does for sure at this point. So good to hear. Mike McDonald talked about. Oh, sorry. Um, Talked about JSN a little bit here about his practice habits. His practice habits are awesome. And Brady Henderson goes on. The feeling inside the organization was that JSN really improved in that regard last season as last season went on, and that, along with his wrist healing, showed up in his play. So JSN is definitely going to be one of those guys we look to make a second-year leap in this new offense, and hopefully with a real offensive line, and the second year of experience, right? Because remember, JSN was a player who didn't play that much in college. He had one big year and then he got hurt. So he was coming into college well behind the NFL, way behind the eight ball compared to these other players that have built up 3 or 4 years of playing experience. So it's completely reasonable to expect JSN to take a big step forward. And he's definitely one of the guys that there is a lot of hype around. There is a belief that this is going to be the year where he becomes an elite slot receiver and that this new offense should fit him better. Me and the Hawks Nest talked a little bit about this yesterday. I think that the circumstances of why JSN was utilized the way he was utilized last year are totally understandable. But I do think that things should be better this year. If we get competent play from the offensive line, I think that Grubb will be able to do something a little more suited to JSN's skill set and allow him to really flourish as a elite receiver. All right, so that's what I got from OTAs yesterday. Let me know what you think. See you guys later. Go Hawks.